So tell us, what do you think is going to happen today?
Well, it's a fast-moving environment, as you can imagine, Jane, and so much has happened over the past 72 hours. It's hard to keep pace, but there's a lot happening today because we in Wales were the first nation to issue a withdrawal letter with regard to the support that was offered to Gianni Infantino ahead of his election next year. And I think that was a really significant intervention because it's true to the principles that we believe in terms of how football is governed, and also the strength of feeling in Wales. And I know that applies to lots of other European countries around the proposal for privatising parts of the game last week was deep and emotional. And so as the governing body, it was the right thing for us to do. But other things are happening, of course, including legal threats against FIFA now.
Right. So, I mean, in short, crudely, you think he's a goner?
Well, it's not for me to come to that conclusion because obviously, my role is within UEFA, and the decision as to Gianni Infantino's future will rest with the 211 different national associations across the world. So, I wouldn't want to be patronising in any way and to assume that the position we take in Europe is a position that will be taken everywhere. But the intervention last week around FFE, which would have sold to private equity parts of the World Cups, women and men's, struck right at the heart of everything we believe in football in terms of the game being owned by the players and the clubs and the fans. And so I think this was the latest in a series of interventions by Infantino that really have accumulated now to reach the position where I think people seriously doubt that he is the leader to take us forward in the international game.
What would it actually have meant, Laura, for people who just sit on the sofa or go to games? What would they have noticed if all this had actually gone through?
I think the way to describe it, Jane, really, is that you're effectively selling off the crown jewels of football. And a good comparison is that those of us who are the custodians of the game, and we're all only temporary custodians, are driven by sporting decisions in all of the decisions we make. So they're based on player welfare, they're based on supporters' experiences and so on. But the minute you introduce private equity into the game, especially in a tournament or tournaments as significant as the two World Cups for men and women, then shareholders expect profit as the biggest motivation for decision making. And of course, that has an immediate threat to supporters in terms of ticket pricing and exclusion of supporters from big tournaments, the size of tournaments. So we would have probably seen an immediate increase in the size of the World Cup, which would have been to the detriment of players and their welfare. So I think for us, it was a clash of the objectives and motivations that should underpin football, which for us in UEFA are about the fans and the clubs and the players. But once you introduce private equity, all of that changes.
Who do you think could or should replace him?
I think it's too early to talk in that sense yet, because, of course, at the moment, Gianni Infantino is president and will remain president until he either resigns or he loses an election next March. But I think there are plenty of talented, honourable, ethical women and men in football who could succeed him. But there has to be a candidate that can unite the world. And again, whilst UEFA is probably the most powerful confederation because we have most of the successful teams at club and international level, that doesn't mean that it has to be a European candidate. We have to coalesce around somebody who could potentially defeat Infantino, but take the game forward in the right way. That's the most significant thing. Somebody who has the principles to develop the sport.
But how did Infantino get the job in the first place?
Well, look, football governance is a complex old world, as I've discovered since I was elected to UEFA's executive committee. And it's often the case that candidates are able to garner support for a whole host of different reasons. And of course, Infantino was standing immediately after the Michel Platini business in UEFA and the Sepp Blatter business at FIFA. So it's never as straightforward as it seems. But we are where we are now. And I think we're about to enter a new era in the development of the game. And I hope that's one that will propel us to a model of really good governance that's transparent and fair and equitable, because that's how the game has to go now.
Right. I mean, you've just alluded to some of the other issues in international football, which I think it's fair to say has always been, well, you tell me, but is murky the right word?
Well, I like to think that in UEFA we've embarked on a modernisation project, and I've been involved in aspects of that, including trying to get more women and more diverse boards everywhere in the game. But that's not the case everywhere in the world. I think that's fair to say, and we're all on a journey, Jane. You know, we've got improvements to make in UEFA, but we appreciate that if we're going to continue to have credibility as the leaders of football in Europe, in our case, then we need to make sure the fans' voices are heard, players' voices are heard, that we have diverse governance that is transparent and has good rules around due diligence and accountability. And that's really what the next president of FIFA has to take very, very seriously, because any more mistakes, it jeopardizes the future of the game. And I think the game is far too precious for that to happen.
Right. I mean, to people who perhaps aren't paid up football fans, they might just detect, I don't know, you're not a pompous person, I absolutely get that. But the idea that this is a world of a principle and that people are driven by all the right motives and they just want people to share in the joy of playing what is a wonderful game, they'll just think, well, what is that woman on about? When in the Premier League, for example, you've got people on £500,000 a week to knock a ball about. Are you in danger of just becoming a little bit pompous about all this? It's just about making money. Always has been, always will be.
No, I don't think so. And the reason for that, Jane, is that the game is much more than the top leagues. I mean, I take your point about wages in the Premier League, but that's not the point, really. The game is about grassroots. It's about children playing, girls and boys. It's about recreational football. It's about referees who give up their time and coaches and administrators. That's the game, okay? The very top level is a tiny, tiny proportion of what we all do in, whether that's in Wales with the FA or in UEFA or in FIFA. And the game gives enormous pleasure to people, undoubtedly, in every sense, including supporters who go out to support their clubs every week at grassroots level. But when we are custodians of the game, as I am and as Infantino is, then we have an extra responsibility to follow really important business and governance principles. I don't think that's pompous at all. I think that's fundamental. In any other sector, one would be really expected and would be held up to account for following due diligence, for following good communications, for being transparent, for being equitable. So, you know, I get what you're alluding to, but there is a difference between private clubs like the clubs in the Premier League and us as governors of the game. We are not for profit, and 98% of the money that UEFA raises through Champions League and so on goes into grassroots and the development of the game. And that's the role that we have as custodians, is to ensure the game's in better health when we leave than it was when we started.
So actually what Infantino might have done, although he didn't intend it, he's united the world of football in a way that perhaps it hasn't been for quite some time.
Well, he certainly didn't intend that with the intervention last week. But, you know, I've said this a few times over the past 72 hours. Strangely, football might come out of this better, in a better, healthier place. And I think we needed to lance that boil of how poorly governed football has been at FIFA level and the kind of egocentrism around the leadership. And this, in many respects, has been the issue, that however you want to call it, the straw that's broken the camel's back. But it's the latest in a series. And I just think the football community has aligned itself to become powerful, to have a single voice that is emotional, but also really determined to change football for the good. So, yeah, maybe we look back at this as a moment in football's history and say the Infantino intervention, which backfired, has united the world of football. And I really hope so, because, you know, that's what we all aim to do.
Laura, lovely. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.